Hey everybody, welcome to the finals of the May Titanium Challenge. I'm Zack Hall, and he's the man named Mullahu.
Howdy.
Steve. He's here doing some coverage. First time, be gentle.
Yeah.
Be gentle. We're here for the finals. We have Mike Tomson and Kevin Geissler. So Eldrazi Tron versus Jund. And we're just going to get right into the match because these guys
They're ready to go.
want to win some money, want to win a buy at the Titanium 10K in October. And we're going to switch right over. Winner of this match gets $400 cash money. Loser gets $200 cash money. Both not bad paydays.
Looks like Kevin is taking a mulligan. So this match, Kevin is on E-Tron and Michael's on Jund. This matchup is unwinnable for Jund.
Unwinnable?
One of the more unwinnable, like lopsided matchups in the format, probably, especially when you have, again, like we saw in kind of the Mardu versus E-Tron matchup earlier, he's got 3 removal spells that interact with Reality Smasher. He's got, I guess, 4 removal spells that interact with Reality Smasher, 5 removal spells in his whole deck that interact with Thought-Knot Seer.
Well, I got to point out, I got to be devil's advocate here, Steve. How about 4 Liliana of the Veil? That's pretty good at taking out those creatures.
And if you can, I mean, and that's what Michael's basically going to be kind of tunneling on doing here. He's going to try to finagle into a position in which he can go, use my useless lightning bolt to kill a matter reshaper, hope it doesn't hit something that matters, and then untap Lily, make you sack your Thought-Knot Seer, make you sack your Smasher. But even if he can squeeze through all of these E-Tron cards.
Oh, and look at this. This is a multi 5, not just 6, but 5. And this Inquisition brings it down to 4 cards. Now, Kevin did scry to the top.
Okay, I mean, again, this is exactly what you need from... I mean, every matchup's winnable if your opponent mulligans into Oblivion, and Jund preys on mulligans. Like you see Inquisition here, thankfully being able to take something. There's a chance that a multi 5 you can just miss, but, I mean, the problem is, again, Michael's hand right now is just Bolt, 3 lands... Tarmogoyf.
Well, Tarmogoyf definitely going to put down some
Dark
pressure
Confidant.
here. Oh, wow. I'm not sure I agree with this
Yeah, there's
at all.
no way you thought he's there ever. But especially when you know he has nothing, you could have just played a Bob uncontested.
Right now, he did scry to the top, and pretty quickly, too. So I would say that maybe the most likely thing he's worried about is like, oh, I don't want to get Chalice here. I don't want to get Expedition mapped here. But I still think I like deploying a threat.
Yeah, if it was Chalice, I mean, if it was Expedition, you just plays the Expedition map. Okay, it has the Chalice, but I mean, again, you don't really care about ones anymore. I mean, your ones from Jund now are just Thoughtseize. He's just going to play everything off the top. Fatal Push.
Bolt.
Fine. Bolt, okay, but I mean, Bolt doesn't kill any of his creatures. Bolt was, again, one of his outs to be able to go kill your Matter Reshaper, untap Lily you, but... So, it gets a little bit harder, but... I mean, now Michael's in this spot where if he just goes... Bob go, and Kevin goes, slam my 3rd Tron piece, play Thought-Knot Seer, take your Goyf. Now Michael's just in a horrible spot. And, I mean, this is a bizarre showcase of why this matchup is so terrible. Kevin went down 2 cards to a hand that wasn't even good and might still just run away easily with this game. Potentially on the back of bizarre sequencing, but there's also a world in which, again, Michael... can draw like Lily this turn, you make him plus, and now that's when Liliana's extra good, is when you have the on-board edicts against these Thought-Knots in particular. Smasher can often just kill Liliana, but still neglecting to play the Bob. I don't think you're into racing here. I mean, Goyf is huge. Yeah. Already a 4/5 with no creatures and no instants, but so that's going to be a 6/7 Goyf.
Yeah, in probably just like 1 turn, give me 6/7 Goyf. Now, important to note,
that is huge.
Mike Tomson, no 3rd land, no red source. And look at this.
Yeah, so there's that. Yep, ripped the 3rd land. And so now you can take the 2nd Goyf here, obviously.
Did he just not play his 3rd land? That's kind of an interesting decision. Maybe Mike Tomson, a little tired, a little jitters, not sure, but doesn't play his 3rd land.
The bold display of still had all these. I guess it. I mean, he's going to take the Goyf here, and then he's going to play the thing. But yeah, We'll see. I mean, yeah, presumably your opponent thinks that you're missing land drops, and I mean, don't know if that does anything.
Warfare.
It's not like he's not going to play his one of the best cards in his deck there. So, but I mean, we're just stonewalled here.
Right,
Technically, if
right.
Michael wants to, he probably wins the race.
There's
So
the
now
Bob
you
that
just
you wanted to
attack.
play.
But see, now the thing, if you didn't play the Bob earlier, presumably you're just too scared of your life total. But I mean, Jund is one of those things. A Bob flips 10 cards. If you're about to die, you just kill it. You can just draw a removal spell that can interact with it and save yourself before it actually kills you. So letting a Bob live is almost always bad. But
Yeah, now, contrary to that, the old Pat Chapin quote, he said this probably 5 or 8 years ago, if my opponent plays with Bob, I immediately think, how am I going to let that kill him?
yeah,
Right, a little different 8 years later, now that Fatal
Yeah,
Push has been
right.
printed, Lightning Bolt is now legal in these formats. A little different, but...
yeah, Bob is. I mean, so here now we'll see. Perfect at the land, drew another land, so Mike kind of flooding. But again, you're still winning the race. If Kevin probably only has 1 card in hand, has Tron, but I mean, you're winning the race. You 6 him down to 7. Mike gets hit down to. He's fetched here. Looks like Mike's probably at 14 or.
Yep.
So no, yeah, 16 to. I don't know if Kevin's is correct, a little fuzzy, but yes, Kevin was at 16, now going to 10.
Yep, these life totals are correct. 13 to 10 here.
But now just Kevin just took a hit for 6. So Michael's looking, I think they should be flip-flop. Yeah, Michael here at 13, Kevin at 10, after taking the 6
Right, you
and then
are.
the 4 from the Goif. Plays a Mind Stone, just as a redraw. So Kevin is losing this race until he finds a Reality Smasher, until he finds even just a Hangerback Walker, until he finds a Walking Ballista. But if he doesn't, there are no I mean, Mind Stone is one of the few redraws he actually has. Like, Endbringer is fine. All his dust is amazing,
All right.
obviously. Oh, nope, just a single waste in Kevin's hand.
Yeah, pretty gross for Kevin. And like you said, pretty close to unwinnable, and maybe this is why, right?
Yeah.
Like, if Kevin just had a normal draw, his creatures would be bigger.
Mm-hmm.
They would dodge Inquisition. His mana base would be less painful. He'd have more mana.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, definitely.
I see why you said that.
One of the big draws for Etron, yeah, I mean, he's taken no damage off his lands. That's just something that everybody takes for granted. Michael, Chalice checking here. Show flips. Okay, actually,
Yeah,
a reasonable draw.
That's a good one.
Nugs him, takes 3, but can now shatter shock and might even have lethal. If he's at 9, Goif's still a, because there's now an instant. So there's land, instant, sorcery, artifact, planeswalker. I believe that was also lethal. That he could have just attacked for 7 and then.
Yep, 5 to 9 we have. Let's see
Okay, so I
how
guess
the last few turns of this game are going
maybe
to play
they
out.
missed it. Matter shape. Wait, I'm not even sure. I guess you just have to play the Matter Shaper here, but now Michael just gets to go. Shock, shatter. Okay, not even casting it is unusual. I guess you can just force the attack. Kevin has to block. Really think Michael's trying to shock this Matter Shaper and shatter the Chalice to force the chump with the Thought Knot. Unless he's trying to snipe a card like the Draw Step from Kevin with the discard from Kolgon's command, but the Matter Shaper is dying anyways here, so. Interesting spot, because you could hope that Matter Shape is a land and then snipe the Draw Step with Kolgon's command and basically guaranteeing you the win. But if it's a spell, then he draws another spell. What is this? Okay, just a Bloodbraid. We're just getting in there. Scavenging use. Okay. Both players at 5. Ballista is lethal from Kevin. I think you just attack with Goif here if you're Michael. Forces your opponent to block. Unless you think that you just want to give him 1 draw and then you get to untap and have lethal that way, which is reasonable. So you put him on one draw step. You can even take the throw, but then your Bob flips are spooky. So do you attack with Bob just to suicide it here?
Yeah, this is a pretty hard attack from Mike Tomson. I mean, he's played this board state in a way that gives Kevin a few chances at it.
Yeah. I'm fairly certain the Dark Confidant, the Goyf was instant, sorcery, land,
at
artifact,
least a 5/6.
planeswalker. There's a 5. And if Kevin was it, maybe we just said the life total is a little wonky, but okay, yep. Kevin's just dead. Counter to the Chalice on his own. And he is dead on the crackback. So Michael's stealing.
You have to at least see if your opponent has a 5-drop in your deck.
Yeah, absolutely. You got a Thundermaw Hellkite in there somewhere. This is actually smart. Ghost Quartering here to just cut one fewer land out of Michael's deck.
Sure.
You can choose to just not find one, and I think Michael technically would also be correct to just not find a basic here.
Yeah, Skoo's going to gain him 1 life, and unless he
That's
has
true,
included
yeah.
like an Ulamog the Ceaseless Hunger in his Jund deck,
He's got a Grave Titan floating around game 1.
would be pretty sick.
That card was so sweet when it
Here's
was
the
standard
scoop.
play. Okay, just concedes before even alphaing or flipping the Bob for some reason. So didn't even want to check for the Grave Titan, and that will be... he could have actually... Yeah, that might have only been 1 creature, so...
All right, so
Going
these
to game
players
2?
go into sideboards here, Steve. What do you like from the Jund deck? Now, you said it's a really hard matchup for him, but he did win game 1. So what's going to help him steal another game?
Winning game 1 is just a miracle. That's what mulligans will do, but the thing is that Mike is opting to disregard the bad matchup of big mana, particularly Tron, and is not playing any copies of Damping Sphere, like we talked about earlier, or the Fulminator mages that often float around here. And instead he's playing that Lingering Souls, which won him his semifinals match.
Right,
so
right.
Just calculated sideboarding from
Yeah,
Mike
lucky
Tomson
for
here.
him, he didn't play these
Calculated
decks
registering.
in the opposite order.
Oh yeah, that's what we were saying, is that all of his other matchups were very bad. And but we said that about this one too, and he just won game 1. But so he doesn't have great sideboard cards for this matchup. He has Lingering Souls, Ancient Grudge. Ancient Grudges might come in. You see Chalice and things like that, so the Grudges will come in. Grafjaegers does nothing. Anger does nothing. Brutality does nothing. Lavamancer, nothing. Liliana, nothing. Kitchen Finks, blocks. Kalitas.
Kalitas is okay. Kalitas is okay.
Kalitas loses heads up against the big Eldrazi creatures, which is a bummer, but if you can start chaining your 3 removal spells, but that's the thing, Kalitas is normally good against the decks where kind of all your removal spells kill things and make zombies, but he's got 4 removal spells to kill a big Eldrazi, so you don't even get the value out of Kalitas, so not much coming in from Mike. On the E-Tron side, we see likely these Relic of Progenitus just to axe the Goyfs, which are really the only creature you care about.
Basilisk Collar probably all right here.
Yeah,
Huh?
Basilisk Collar is just an all-star again. If you can get that Walking Ballista going, but traditionally, I don't think you love bringing Basilisk Collar when your ballistas are liable to die, which the bolts in most situations kill ballistas on 1, 2, and 3, unless you have crazy Tron mana. The ballistas aren't going to get massive, and if you have crazy Tron mana, again, you're probably just running away with this game. Mike is just stone cold soft to all his dust at basically every stage of the game.
So right now, Jund has won game 1.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin going to be on the play game 2, but on the draw for a potential game 3.
Mm-hmm.
With Jund up a game, what do you put his chances at Mike's? Were you a betting man?
Traditionally, E-Tron has these weird problems of drawing too many lands because you have to play all these lands, and so they are liable to mulligan. That is a problem with this deck, and you'll see basically every Eldrazi Tron player that you've ever come across in your entire life has complained about how their mulligans are terrible. Well, their mulligans are good, but they mulligan frequently because they have all these lands and no card draw. So every further game into the match that it goes, Kevin is more likely to mulligan. Michael is a dog this game, certainly. Kevin is even favored on the draw, but if Mike can string together some perfects and actually cast his Dark Confidants on 2 and play his lands that are in his hand, then 50-50 to win the match, potential at best. Kevin needs a reasonable 7 in games 2 and 3, and I think this is...
Well, this is part 1,
yikes.
a 7 in game 2.
Part 1. So again, from Mike, we see the Inquisition into Bob draw that he could have opted for beginning. So this is one of those awkward Eldrazi Tron hands where you've got only one target for your Inquisition. Your Inquisition's not even good in this matchup.
That's good right there, right? Snipe a card.
But, I mean, you hit anything, so that's great.
Yeah.
I mean, advantage bar Mike at the moment. I mean, Kevin cannot cast... is 1 Tron land, 1 waste, 1 Ghost Quarter. No Eldrazi Temples, nowhere close to Tron. Can beat Blood Moon with the waste that doesn't matter because it's not in Michael's 4-color deck. No removal spells. Thankfully, he could actually hit the Walking Ballista because now his Bob can live. Should, again, he choose to play that. But we'll see if he actually sticks with the game plan of not playing Bob like he didn't in game 1. Okay. So actually plays the Bob this time. Now just says go. I mean, Kevin just, if he draws, most of his draws here are just nothing for this turn.
Yep.
Temple is the best. Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably just says
no
go
Temple, probably no play. Now
Yep.
you can see behind Mike, the room is empty. This is the finals. All the other players have left, so we have to be a little quieter than normal. So my apologies for that. Would not want to let the players know what is in the hand or what not. So here we go. Mike's turn 3. If he could land something like a Liliana right now, that would be sick.
I mean, it looks like he's got Bloodbraid. Okay, Soul. I mean, so again, Souls is in that weird position where theoretically it's for the grindy matchups. This is a grindy matchup, but this matchup has a ton of tramplers and pingers where Souls aren't actually that good. We said the same thing about Elves, where again, theoretically, it's not for the Elves matchup. It's for these Jess guys and Blue-Whites and the Mirrors and even humans or Hollow One or whatever, things that don't trample, things that don't have removal spells that 2-for-1 you, but he still brought them in, which...
Here we go. Kevin prays for the top of his deck to give him a land. It does, and here's the Thought Knot. Bloodbraid Elf will be exiled here shortly.
Gonna say is it looked like he had 3-drop and a Bloodbraid, which again is just one of the better draws you can have. Bloodbraid, again, not good against this Thought Knot Seer. But I mean, you take Bloodbraid here every time, not close if you're E-Tron. 2 Bobs is a great way to die. 1 Bob, rare.
No, show him the card. Show him the card. Oh, that's a miss Bob trigger. That's a miss Bob trigger. Let's see.
It is indeed.
The judge is called. Here. Or maybe he... Oh, it looks like he did show him real quick, I guess.
Just flipped it and as it was running away. But it was not a Liliana, but instead Mike hopes that it was a Bloodbraid into a Liliana, and we know that it was a Bloodbraid.
Yep, here we go.
This is a Liliana. Kevin is looking... So this can be Liliana, Dreadbore, Terminate.
Pretty good chances
even Fatal
here.
Push. Even a... If you hit a Bolt, do you go upstairs or do you target the Thought Knot Seer? Interestingly enough, I think you actually might target the Thought Knot Seer. You can attack for 7. Put him to 11. So is the Cascade still on the trigger, or is there a Judge Call? Okay, so this looks like the Judge Call dealing with that Bob trigger. So,
here we go. Head Judge Matt will figure this out. He has head judged many a TJ's tournament. I have no doubts he'll make the right ruling. And now I do believe that is considered an advantageous trigger for the Bob players. So I believe Kevin will have the option of putting it on the stack right now.
That's one of those weird ones where like it feels weird to qualify triggers by advantageous and disadvantageous. Because, for example, Bob, one of the greatest ones, is that there's a downside as well. There are a ton of board states where a Bob trigger is a disadvantage, and so you want to skip it. There are advantageous ones where you want to draw your cards, but it's an interesting metric that WotC has developed. But so in this case, they're trying to figure out that Mike should have flipped this Bloodbraid to the Bob.
Well, with the perfect information of the Thought Knot Seer, Bloodbraid is literally the only card he could have drawn.
Yeah, that makes it a lot easier for everybody, and especially Head Judgment Stone. So now we're going to take 4 from that. Oh, okay, interesting. So it looks like it was just counted as a miss trigger.
Oh.
Hit the
Yeah.
not live Ancient Grudge.
No target, so cannot cast it. Cannot even put it in the graveyard.
That's true. I was about to say, at least it's in your graveyard, but you have no target, so you can't even cast it. So
That
it
is ugly, ugly, ugly.
So-
That's enough for me to rip up that Ancient Grudge after this tournament.
Though, is it supposed to be exiled? If you can't cast it, does it just stay exiled?
No, it gets
Okay.
shuffled and put on the bottom of the deck.
Okay, so even if you can't get it, okay. I don't know if I've ever cast a Bloodbraid Elf. That card is not blue.
Wow. Never cast a Bloodbraid Elf?
Even though it's only been recently, maybe in Cube. Probably in Cube. I don't even like to play Cube decks that are
Guys,
Bloodbraid Elf
who are
decks.
you, the people who are listening, what do you think of Steve never having cast a Bob? Wow.
I've cast a Bob in Cube. I've probably cast them in Cube, but
Well, you
that doesn't
probably.
really count. Definitely never.
If
in
you have
Constructed.
cast a Bloodbraid Elf, you would know. It
Yeah,
feels pretty
yeah,
good.
that's
feels
true.
pretty good.
I just tend to hope to be on the side of electrolyze it and hope that nothing happens.
How's that work
Thankfully,
out
John-
for you usually?
I mean, I was playing just got these last couple of 1Ks and 5Ks and stuff, and I played against Jund, and Search for a Scan is a big game.
Right.
Oh, this is a lot of mana here. That's
Boom.
Smasher. Now Michael is under the squeeze, but do you offer the trade for both of these creatures? If you're Mike, I think you snap take this trade. If you do not have a way to interact with that Reality Smasher, that is A-okay. You take 2, but you cannot afford to go to 7 there, and you're not single blocking. Even if, he obviously doesn't have a removal spell because you probably would have cast on the Thought Knots here. So if you have nothing in hand there, you just have to take that trade.
Thoughtseize Tron, this is gross.
If Kevin's, we actually know that Kevin still has a Karn in his hand. But Mike elects to cast, oh no, he still has the white, he still has the black in there, but cast Lingering Souls instead. Do you fetch your basic Swamp and cast this Thoughtseize? I think you're supposed to. If Mike wrote down the cards that were in Kevin's hand, but it's possible that Mike is just too afraid of fetching to 9, Thoughtseizing to 7, Bob is in play, you have no removal spells, you hit poorly twice, and you're just dead. So, is that Tron? That was played with a flourish of a
Not
Tron
Tron.
activation. Okay, that's 2 towers, it looks like. 6. Oh, this is the Endbringer that we knew was in Kevin's hand from earlier.
Yep.
Oh.
Oh,
Even
that's a
worse.
little better than the Endbringer. Now this
That
Ballista
is
can kill all 3 creatures,
much
get in for
worse.
4, or you can keep the Ballista on the board. We'll see what Kevin does.
What is... Oh, this attack is very... this attack was good. This block was very bad. You just blocked with 1 Lingering Soul there. You just lost 2 more creatures. You lost 1 more creature than you needed to, if you're Mike here. Because you could have just blocked with one thing. Okay, drew the Terminate. But if you're Mike there, you can just block with 1 token, and then Ballistic kills Bob. Still at 2, but you have 3 spirits instead of 2. And the same outcome happens, so... And if you're Michael here, gets in there. Liliana would be actually not good, because you can kill Liliana and kill Lingering Soul. Thoughtseize, take your Karn. Oh, good, yeah. Well, right, we had said that the Endbringer's still there. Can't beat Endbringer, can't beat Karn. Tapland, go. Mike berating himself, it looks like. But we'll hide his shame. We got a map that so map turns on Tron here, gives him 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 mana. Double activate, attack you for 4.
Ancient Grudge would have been pretty sick there.
Yeah. Even if it was just in his graveyard. Even if he had something to cast it on earlier.
Yeah. That could end up being the difference maker here.
Yeah, just a bricked BBE, a
That's-
missed Bob trigger.
Unfortunately,
Combination of worries.
this is what happens when you put a card like Ancient Grudge in your deck with your Bloodbraid Elf.
Yeah. That's why people kind of looked originally to try to play these like Rogue Bloodbraid Elf decks, but it turns out that you can't play counterspells with your
Right.
with your Bloodbraid Elf, and now here we see Karn just drawing cards because he's still got 5 mana floating, so you can cast that Thought Knot to your next turn. He obviously gives him the land. He just targeted that one, which I believe was not the way he wanted to do it.
Interesting decisions here.
Because he also played his land drop this turn.
Now, this game is over, but the crying pretty much. So this Thought Knot's here in the hand.
Yeah.
Maybe Mike just decides that that's actually better than your opponent having 3 extra mana with a Ballista in play. Kind of interesting.
Can't even... He already made his land drop this turn, so it's not like Kevin could go play the land, activate Ballista for an extra amount. So this could have been an insane next level from Michael, in that he has a Damnation on the top of his library and wants to draw 2 cards. That would have been sick. But don't know if Michael really had outs, anywho. So, looking like he drew... Does he have Lane Kolaghan's Command in his hand? Kolaghan's Command not doing anything. Karn looking great. Hadn't even heard of Karn in these Etron decks over the old Karn, but fixes one of the problems with the Etron deck is that you had all these 6 and 7 drops in your deck for kind of, if your mana did not line up, you were not casting those. So now you can just cast this Karn, makes creatures. That's what you want in this format. Like fetching twice. Oh, he wants to Kolaghan's Command his Bloodbraid Elf here. Needs to hit removal spell for the Thought Knot. Ballista. How much mana are we looking at over 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 15 mana if Kevin wants to next turn. But that's not the full 4 pumps for the Ballista. But you can go... Okay, so he's going shock your, or shatter your Ballista, get back Bloodbraid. Let's Bloodbraid not die to the 2 triggers from the, or the 2 bullets from the Walking Ballista. Kevin tanking on whether or not to go face or kill the spirits. Spirits make sense, they're just chump blockers.
Yeah, so
Bloodbraid.
Kolaghan's Command, a great draw here. Now, if he can go runner, maybe into Liliana
Yeah,
of
this
the
needs
Veil.
Liliana would be great here. Thoughtseize is the opposite of that.
Again, whiff on Bloodbraid
Yeah.
Elf. This is headed for a game 3, I think, here.
Potentially one of the reasons why people... Oop, and there
Yeah, that'll do it.
Kill your... Since he doesn't have to pay 4 for every 1 counter, he gets to pay 2 for every counter, and kills a Bloodbraid, shoots your face, attacks with Thought Knot, and that is that.
Kevin says one good draw deserves another, and picks up the Walking right off the top of his deck. So here we go, game 3.
So, I mean, that's part of the reason why people potentially fell off of Bloodbraid Elf, is that, I mean, it necessarily introduces variance to the way that your game plan is, and when you're a deck that's needing to calculatedly interact with your opponent, that randomness means that you're tapping 4 mana to just do nothing sometimes, and Modern is a harsh mistress. Sideboard's almost certainly not changing on player draw. It's something that doesn't really happen in Modern that much. Legacy more so when you have Threatened by Days, but maybe Mike... I mean, this is a great spot to remember, to at least just take stock of tilt when it comes to identifying cards you want to sideboard out. If you're Mike, there's a world in which you go, this Ancient Grudge literally lost me the game because I cascaded into it.
Any other
I just
spell,
take it out, and you
basically.
just salt cut it. But realize that A, that might be correct. Maybe it did lose you the game. Maybe it should have been something else. But you also have to identify that, okay, you can't let one correct decision be muddled by an unlucky outcome. If it was the correct decision to do it in the first place, it was a correct decision to do it, to include it in your deck regardless of what happened with it. So
Yeah, now that's pretty hard to be not results oriented,
Yeah.
but and especially in the finals of a tournament. But here we go. We're in game 3.
Right
we
in
see.
there.
Ooh, this is so it's
Snap it up.
natural
Wowza.
Tron hand from Kevin.
So we know for sure that Mike can expect, presumably, turn 1 nothing. Realistically, turn 1 nothing. Turn 2, maybe something. Turn 3, Smasher. Turn 4, all is dust. That honestly isn't the worst. You see Kevin pulling another Tron land. There's that Ancient Crush. That's still in there.
that do nothing.
But so if you're Michael, you see that All Is Dust coming. Best possible here is, I mean, even a Goyf as a 3/4 isn't the worst. But
Yeah, I mean, All Is Dust is going to get one of your cards, no matter what.
yes,
So you have to play something. It's going to get
unless
something.
unless you can find a Thoughtseize or something like that for it. But I mean, at this point, you would rather Thoughtseize the Reality Smasher and you can just play around All Is Dust to a certain extent. You can try to find the narrow squeeze of pressure. This is fine. I mean, this is worse than a Goyf, effectively. If you're Mike, you really want nothing to happen here. You just really want land go. You don't want to Relic, Dismember, anything. So now, like, Liliana's not great here. The good thing is you have these hasty follow-ups to All Is Dust. So you definitely eat a guy. Yeah, take 3. But the good thing is so Michael's going to be able to terminate this Smasher, which is great. Has to great.
Yeah, gotta let it resolve first, Mike. Gotta let it resolve first.
It does resolve first. But so, 2 cards for the Smasher. Your Goyf or your Ooze gets to hit for 4.
That's okay. Yep. I mean, eventually this Ooze is going to demand an answer just on its own.
Yeah, and so that's exactly what Mike wanted. Basically, put a single threat on a play immediately on turn 2, be able to interact with the Smasher at instant speed. Say go. The onus is on Kevin to find something better than an All Is Dust, so that he doesn't have to tap out trade with that. And if Michael can punish that with Bloodbraid, I mean, now we got a game.
Yep.
But
So Ooze up to a 4/4 here.
Oh, discarded the Ancient Crutch to the Reality Smasher trigger.
Hashtag value.
Oh, that's just good deck building. So doing the worst possible impersonation of a card in the first game and just doing exactly what you want Ancient Crutch to do here.
So Kevin Geissler, all the mana, would love a walking
Like
ballista.
10 mana from Kevin's side, just passes. Does
Wow,
not, so
must have drawn
basically
all
says-
lands here.
I mean, we know he's got the All Is Dust, and so, I mean, you're Michael, there's no way, I mean, you just can't afford to overextend
No.
without having another follow-up after the All Is Dust.
Yeah, he does have a Goyf, but I'm not sure how I feel about this. It's such a fine line, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, so
He has a Goyf in his
you
hand.
could have put him to attack on turn 3, attack on turn 4. So yeah, so Kevin was just fine with taking. Well, that's what it looks like. Kevin is at 13, and because I think
I
so just
think he
cast
took
All Is Dust.
4 more. He should be at 9 here.
Well, because this is now Mike's. Oh no, yeah. Did Mike just miss a land drop? Because he hit him for 3, and then he hit him for 4. At least the players seem to think it's 13 to 17. But so I mean, regardless, I mean, life total is relatively unimportant. I mean, 13 versus 9 is not a huge deal right now. But so now Michael's going to be able to untap, play that Goyf. Ideally, I mean, if you've got Goyf or Bloodbraid, which one do you play? Land. Oh, okay. It looks like he has Scooz and Goyf.
Yeah, Scooz Goyf is a big game here. Ooze going to be a 3/3 potentially.
So that's part of the reason to overextend. If you know you have 2 creatures, you can go force you to All Is Dust and then play 2 guys, because if Kevin can just, if Mike only has 1 creature in his hand and he can't really pressure after an All Is Dust and he just passes with the 4/4 Scooz, Kevin plays a Smasher, Kevin plays a Thought-Knot Seer. Now the Scooz is just outclassed, and now he still has a All Is Dust in his hand. Wow, nothing.
No, not
I mean,
a
this is
thing.
just classic E-Tron problems, like we were saying. That you play all these lands, you play a chunk of cards, just do nothing. You hope that this huge mana advantage is enough, but I mean, you're definitely loving Mike's spot, and he's loving his own spot right now. What could Kevin's hand be? Just unless it's more lands. I mean, if it's an Expedition map, you play it. If it's a Thought-Knot Seer, you play it.
He might have drawn
Dismember.
all lands this game.
Potentially. Literally has his only cards all game.
And look at what Mike picks up here. He's threatening lethal with
got
this Bloodbraid Elf. Tap
the
better.
Bloodbraid Elf.
Okay, leave the swamp up.
Wow,
Oh, that was
concedes, shows him 4 lands, and Mike wins.
brutal for the Eldrazi Tron player. Kevin Geissler fought hard, kept a good hand. One of his cards discarded.
Yeah, I mean,
one of his cards traded, and that was that.
That was that. I mean, E-Tron problems. I mean, that's what Jund had all these problems with these big mana decks before because they couldn't pressure after debilitating plays like Karns and Wormcoils and things. But now that you have these Blood Braids, just a 4-mana 3/2 with haste is apparently good enough in these matchups that are kind of dependent on, in this case, overextending into a sweeper and then being able to beat it afterwards. Man lands are good too. Didn't even need them. That's that.
So Kevin Geissler, second place, good showing. Still gets a chunk of cash, but he doesn't win the prize of the buy at the 10K.
Theoretically priceless buy that Michael picks up for that 10K in October, the DCU Center.
That's right. That's right. Mike, by virtue of taking down this tournament, earns himself a buy, earns himself hundreds of dollars in cash. This was a $1,000 cash tournament. We're not paying out booster packs, paying out cash money. So if you weren't here, in the comments, explain why. I do need a doctor's note. I do need to know.
Yeah.
Or a promise that you'd be at the next one, which I will tell you is coming up June 16th. That's a Saturday.
Yeah.
So join us then. Come into TJ Collectibles, sell us some cards, buy some cards, support your local business so that way we can continue to grow, run more tournaments. Get Steve on payroll. Gotta find the money for all these things.
That's true. And not to mention, another way you can do that is coming to regionals on June 2nd.
There we go.
Also at the DCU Center. Modern regionals. Funky little turtle playmat. Another chance to win money. I believe the regionals is technically a 5K.
I like turtles.
So you've got 1Ks abounding right now. 10K in October. You got to grind for that. I mean, every 1K from that will happen every month from now until October is going to earn the finals winner a round 1 buy. Can't put a price on that, except for $10,000.
There we go. So until next time, guys, following this, we'll have a little bit of a winner's interview real quick. So check that out. Comment, enter the giveaway for the booster pack. Until next time, thank you for watching, everybody.
Yeah, thank you very much. Have a good one.